To order, brethren!
To order, brethren, to receive the most worshipful profound master.
King Solomon sought to find one skilled in the art of building. He sent for Hiram and brought him up out of Tyre. And so the architect drew designs for the construction of a building. Never more splendid an edifice was fashioned than the temple Hiram wrought for the Lord. This skill to give effect to vision became operative masonry. Over time, thinking men became drawn to the idea of applying these tools to their morals, that they should lead better lives, following the will of the great architect. Speculative masonry was born. Great men and great ideas found fertile land, and their beliefs spread across the world. They used tools to measure their actions by the rule of rectitude. They squared their conduct by the principles of morality. They compassed their thoughts by propriety. And thus men built temples within their hearts. These edifices, models, and ideals are as relevant today as they were in ancient times. Let us resolve to keep them so.
Medieval stonemasons met in lodges, where they drew moral lessons from the tools of their craft. Their legends recall that the art of masonry was first taught by Euclid, and that in England, 100 years before the time of William the Conqueror, a great assembly of masons met at York under Prince Edwin, where they drew up a historic code for the guidance of the craft.
In truth, no one knows precisely how philosophical or speculative Freemasonry grew out of the stonemasons' ancient guilds. But by the time of William Shakespeare, gentlemen, and not just working stonemasons, were meeting regularly in masons' lodges to practice the craft.
In the early 1600s, Sir Robert Moray, the driving force behind the Royal Society, was initiated into Freemasonry at Newcastle upon Tyne. Soon after, Elias Ashmole, famous as founder of the great Ashmolean Museum, was initiated into Freemasonry at Warrington.
Freemasons continued to meet and initiate new members throughout the period of the Civil War, Commonwealth, and Restoration. Then, exactly 300 years ago, in 1717, something happened in London which altered and shaped Freemasonry forever.
After the Great Fire of London, St. Paul's Cathedral had been newly designed and finished by Sir Christopher Wren. It was a triumph of stone and skill. In its shadow, 4 London lodges of Freemasons met together and took a momentous step.
Like the builders of old, each Freemason takes up the square and compasses. As he applies these tools to his morals and becomes more skilled in the craft, he progresses from entered apprentice to fellow craft, and finally master mason. In rich ceremonies of timeless drama, he is presented with centuries of wisdom on life's greatest questions, on birth, life, and death. He is guided to reflect on the brotherhood of man dwelling together under the eye of God, and the ways in which each can so conduct himself as to live respected and to die regretted. Through these unique experiences, each brother carves a stone of the great temple in his own way. I hold
It's self-evident, Brother Franklin. All men are created equal.
Indeed, Brother Washington. All Freemasons meet as equals, and we have an opportunity to create a nation in the very essence of Masonic morality.
With freedom and tolerance of all religions and moralities that no government can oppress.
You know, I think it would be a great idea if we wore our Masonic regalia when we're putting in place the foundation stone for the Capitol building.
Freedom of speech, too, and the press, the right to peaceful assembly, and... Did you say regalia?
Yes. Well, it would be wonderfully symbolic, don't you think?
You'll be wanting to put the all-seeing eye on our banknotes next.
You think I'm taking it a bit far?
Please don't ask me questions like that, Brother Franklin. You know I cannot tell a lie.
Oh, come on, Brother Washington. Everybody lies occasionally, surely. Especially politicians.
Not me. Not even so much as an alternative fact.
But we must all be aware of fake news.
But people must be free to think what they like as well. We can have no thought police in our new society.
I couldn't agree with you more. Without freedom of thought, there can be, well, no such thing as wisdom.
You know, I do agree with you, though. The foundation stone of our new nation built on all those principles that we hold dear. Perfect in its parts and honorable to the builder.
And the plans for our new capital city already have a very Masonic feel to them. Yeah. You know, I still don't think Potomac City has enough of a ring to it, though, somehow. Have you given any thought to a name, Brother Washington?
I'm still working on that one.
Good evening, Brother George.
Well, hello, Brother Hiram.
Brother Benjamin.
And who's your friend?
Oh, this is Mr. Aveney, our candidate for initiation into the order. I'm giving him a little introduction into some of our mysteries.
Good evening, gentlemen.
Oh, hey, what a privilege to be shown round by Hiram himself.
Yes, I'm learning a great deal.
And these two gentlemen are founding an entire nation built on our principles.
There we have great promises for our new nation. You know, I wonder if other presidents after me will also be Freemasons.
Well, of course. I mean, Oh, well, I just sort of assumed.
I'm afraid not, Ben. But many will be. And Freemasonry will become embedded in the American culture. And the eye will appear on the banknotes.
Oh, God.
As will your face.
Oh, God.
And in years to come, these principles will be honored with a gift from your French brethren. A gift that will be a welcoming beacon to the poor and oppressed when they journey to your great land. Brother Bartholdi.
I've always liked the French.
What's that?
This is the statue we are giving you.
It's a bit small, isn't it?
Oh, this is a maquette. The real thing is bigger. Much, much bigger. I call her Liberty Enlightening the World.
Catchy. I like her.
I love her. Liberty's what we're all about.
And life.
And life. Life and liberty's what we're all about.
And the pursuit of happiness.
Well, of course, the pursuit of happiness. The pursuit of happiness goes without saying. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
Forgive me for being naive, but if the people spend all their time pursuing happiness, how on earth can they expect to build a successful nation?
Well, how about life, liberty, labor, and the pursuit of happiness? Labor is just as important as refreshment.
It's the rule of three, Brother Benjamin. Believe me, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness will play much better. Faith, hope, and charity. Beauty, truth, strength.
I'm afraid he's right, but as a nation, you will labor hard. You will labor very hard indeed, and you will play hard. America will produce a great many great Americans from many different walks of life and many different fields, and many will be Masons. Sportsmen, actors, writers, soldiers, filmmakers, businessmen, inventors, astronauts.
What on earth is an astronaut?
No, they're not.
I don't follow.
Well, they're not on Earth, they're in space. In fact, Brother Buzz Aldrin was the second man to walk upon the surface of the moon.
That's the best thing I've heard this evening.
What, that a Mason walked on the moon?
Nope, that he was the second man to walk on the moon. See, I told you, people don't always remember who the first person was to do something.
Man on the moon. Amazing. But don't forget the musicians. Do not forget the musicians.
How could we forget music?
With its strong bonds of camaraderie, Freemasonry naturally traveled the long, dusty roads of Great Britain's influence, west to the United States and Canada, south to Africa, and east to India and the Far East.
Across the globe, English-speaking lodges became a feature of 18th and 19th century life. Many larger cities had their own lodges, where the nationalities mixed freely. The British Army had travelling lodges that moved with regiments.
Many people discovered Freemasonry far from Britain. Nobel Prize-winning author, Brother Rudyard Kipling, finding himself in Lahore as a young newspaperman, was made a Freemason in the Lodge of Hope and Perseverance, 782 English Constitution.
Here, he met with Freemasons who were Muslims, Hindus, Sikhs, members of the Arya and Brahmo Samaj, and a Jewish tiler who was a priest and butcher to his little community in the city.
As the globe embraced Freemasonry, enlightenment came, not just to the initiate, but to the world.
I can tell you that there are many others who feel that they are the most important elements of Freemasonry. Important, perhaps. And I have a little list. As someday it may happen that a victim must be found, I've got a little list. I've got a little list of Masonic bores and irritants who always hang around and who never would be missed. They never would be missed. There's the treasurer whose attitude is constantly irate. The secretary whose summonses are always sent out late. The seeker of promotion who's a sycophantic brat. All persons who in shaking hands shake hands with you well, like that. And the masters who on reading all their rituals insist, they none of them be missed. They none of them be missed. Who has no grasp of masonry and what it signifies, he never would be missed. He never would be missed. Then the brethren with far too many jewels on their breast, or those who do not care about the poor or the distressed, and the arrogant initiate who thinks he knows it all because he did a guided tour around Freemasons' Hall. And that irritating brother, the word perfect ritualist, I don't think he'd be missed. I'm sure he'd not be missed.
He's got them on the list. He's got them on the list. And they none of them be missed. They none of them missed.
Anybody feeling left out? Don't worry, there's another verse. There's the visiting grand officer and other senior ranks, the aspiring humorist, I've got him on the list, whose speeches last for hours when he could have just said thanks. They'd none of them be missed. They'd none of them be missed. There's the ones who sidle up to you when you are at the bar, but never buy a drink themselves or offer a cigar. All self-important, pompous types who think they're far too grand, and brethren who drink so much that they can barely stand. But it really doesn't matter whom you put upon the list, for they none of them be missed.
Freemasonry asks its members to unite in being happy and communicating happiness. It values humor highly, and meetings and dinners generate much laughter. In its earliest days, Freemasonry thrived as a haven away from endless political violence and war.
Ever since, it has always sought to foster peace and unity. But when the terrible blight of war has ripped societies apart, Freemasons have served their countries and communities with distinction, while continuing to draw hope and inspiration from the craft.
Around the world, Freemasons have always been encouraged to think of the needs of their fellow creatures. In World War I, Freemasons were honored with over 100 of the 628 Victoria Crosses awarded for valor, and similar sacrifices and gallantry have been displayed by Freemasons down the ages and across the globe.
Masons have also seen beyond the flags and uniforms of nations to the individual human tragedies of war and sought to keep alive the spirit of universal brotherhood.
In the United States, during the Civil War, Freemasons met across the Union and Confederate divide to celebrate their common rituals and shared humanity.
In World War I, after the numbing slaughter at Ypres, a Canadian prisoner of war and a German guard struck up a Masonic friendship that sustained them both. And today, Freemasonry remains an active part of military life in many countries.
The darkness you saw and endured may continue. Those who know no better will continue to fight, and innocents will continue to suffer. You have found solace and refuge. In your wisdom, you've chosen a better path.
I only wish I could do more to aid those in need of light.
You can and you will. Resolving the conflict in one's own mind is the first step. Everything else will follow.
Am I worthy enough to teach others?
Brother Goethe said that magic is believing in yourself. If you can do that, you can make anything happen. All you have to do is believe. We cannot deny our bloody history, but we can unite and create peace. Brother Mozart wrote a piece of music which best illustrates this complex thing. In perhaps his most Masonic of all his operas, The Magic Flute, all you have to do is listen.
It is with the warmest fraternal greetings and pleasure that I welcome you all here today to celebrate this special anniversary, the tercentenary of the founding of the Premier Grand Lodge in London. I had the pleasure of meeting 136 Grand Masters visiting from overseas at Freemasons Hall yesterday. Today, though, we are a meeting of more than 4,000, gathered from all around the world, from our own constitution and beyond. Freemasonry, as we have seen today, has inspired countless truly great men and historical figures throughout the ages. But it has also found a treasured place in the lives of millions of ordinary men, encouraging a love of tolerance, freedom, the dignity of mankind, and an understanding of their place in the universe under God. These men work quietly and diligently in their communities today, allowing the light of brotherly love and charity to shine from them, demonstrating to the world the beneficial effects of our ancient institutions.
Every Mason knows how important the symbolism of light has always been in his ritual. In their many ways, Freemasons have spent the last 300 years spreading their light. And the light of Freemasonry's values of tolerance, self-improvement, and service to others. Most worshipful Grand Master, I humbly ask you to complete the initiation of this worthy candidate for Freemasonry.
Having been kept for a considerable time in a state of darkness, what in your present situation is the predominant wish of your heart?
Light.
Let that blessing be restored to the candidate.